Thank you to our first two readers. They made it through in wonderful performances. Thank you, Sherry, Vanessa. Thank you, the Loft, for this program. Thank you all for being here. And to all the Mentoids, all 12 of you. 12. I was going to very quickly reference the jail program that I've been working with over the past few years. This is our 9th chapbook that we've produced, probably the best one. And this one just came out last night. We had the reading at Ramsey County Jail. My intention, best intentions, was to be able to sell copies of this chapbook tonight, and so the funds could go back into the program. But we don't have all of the contracts signed for the book, so we can't sell it. So anyway, I just wanted to show it. We do have a mailing list if you want to learn more about the program, and we'll gladly sell you a chapbook at a later time. But that was my intent. So obviously, there's no books for sale tonight. Okay, that's the business. I guess it's time to read. Years ago, what I like about this mentor program, when I first came to the Twin Cities quite a long time ago, I got associated with the Loft when it was underneath the Playwrights Center on Franklin Avenue. That's where the offices were. And one of the first readings I got involved with was I sent in some material because they had a call for, it was a reading for single parents. And so I wound up reading, I don't remember everyone I read with, but I first met Marcy Rendon there. I learned about the Loft, etc. And through that association with the Loft, after that reading, I met Sandra Benitez. And this was before both of us were published. And one of my favorite memories of Sandra, this is a few years before she was published, her first novel was A Place Where the Sea Remembers. And this one time we were just sitting on the steps at that old Playwrights Center, the Loft, and Sandra Benitez just had this great energy and this hope all about her. And she goes to me and she says, "Don't you worry, Dieguito. Don't you worry. We're both going to be published, and soon, And it was just, that always sticks in me because, then she came out with A Place Where the Sea Remembers, and then finally I got through with Growing Through the Ugly. And that writer's life is something I always wanted, and I took it. I took it early, and past few years I've been living in a cave, basically, but that's okay. I never stopped writing. My next novel is going to be titled Bordertown Sky, and I'm going to read an excerpt from that tonight. And I just decided last minute that the excerpt I'm going to read, the nice thing about having a work in progress is you can carry around the manuscript and decide at the last minute, which damn excerpt am I going to read? And you're, well, I was going to start with the first chapter, but I just don't think it's strong enough. And then I think this other piece is stronger. And basically, I'm going to get into, I'm going to start with chapter 3 of the novel. I'll give you a quick backdrop of the novel. It starts, as most of my writing does, with an attempt to write a children's story. And then it winds up being a story. It becomes a book or a story about young people, but it becomes an adult novel about the youngsters. This particular book story is 4 teenagers, young teenagers, 2 boys, 2 girls, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And they're going... and I'm back on the border. This is, it's a border town novel in El Paso, Texas. And if you grew up in that area, the place is surrounded with strange lights in the skies all the time. It just is. Most of them are always excused because it's some government experiment, because not too far away from there is White Sands Missile Range and Los Alamitos, and everything that blew up that can destroy the earth was blown up first in that area. So there are different lights in that sky. These 4 teenagers, young teenagers, are going to go to a specific site where they know there are landings from visitors. that's the whole story. 4 of them leave for that journey, and 3 make it back. So I'm going to read chapter 3. This is one of the boys talking. And it's titled, A Mother Changes Her Way. The next morning, I visit my mother. She's been gone on a trip with her new man friend, but my sisters tell me she came back already. They said it's been about a week now, and they showed me where she was living. I knock on the door, and my mother answers in a panic. Jimmy, look at me, and listen to this, because I don't want to explain it. I look at my mother, who has been away for more than a month, and I want to recognize her. When she's gone for a long time, I forget what she looks like, almost as if she isn't my mother anyway. And I always lose the sound of her voice. So while I stand at the doorway listening to her whisper that I must listen to something important that she is about to say, I try to remember who this woman is to me. She mumbles fast before opening the door to let me into her apartment. Jimmy, honey, just do this for me right now, and I'll explain it later, okay? I don't answer, and she continues. This guy doesn't know that I have any kids, so I just told him that you're my brother. Listen, for right now, just pretend for me, okay? Please, Jimmy, I'll make it up to you, but it's too complicated right now, so just don't call me mommy or anything like that, okay? And don't forget, just call me Sylvia, okay? I have never heard so many okays in such a short period of time. And I don't have much time to think. I just do what she asks. But I know that I can't call her my sister, and that it is easier to just call her Sylvia. I've called her by her first name already for quite some time. I started calling my mother Sylvia more than a year ago, so this isn't a challenge. But I'm not going to say aloud that she is my sister. I do not know that I can stumble along and pretend with whatever it is that my mommy wants me to pretend with her. She says this guy is some high-ranking officer in the Army, that he's stationed at Fort Bliss, he'll be here for a long time, and that they have been away together on some transitional travel voucher, and he took her with him. And that they first met last year when she was out of town. You remember that time I went to San Antonio with my cousin? We went out dancing, and she knew this guy, and he was nice. And I didn't say anything to you then because I didn't think he was serious about coming back to El Paso. But just wait, you'll like him. But don't say anything, okay? I start to say, okay. But he appears at the doorway and asks Sylvia, who is this little guy, honey? Is he selling something? Sylvia becomes my sister in an instant. Chester. Remember I told you about little Jimmy? He lives with our aunt over on the other part of town we call the Loretto district. Jimmy, this is Chester. Sorry to hear about your parents, kid. It's too bad they both had to work at that same place in Smelter Town. I hear those places can blow up all the time. And your sister here says that the company had no insurance for any of the people who got killed in that explosion. That's just too bad. Sorry about that. The tragedy of my parents having blown up in Smelter Town is almost too much for me to take. And I didn't know I was such the good actor until this moment. Hey, thanks, man. It's been pretty hard on old Sylvia and me. I sometimes forget everything, even like if we have any more brothers and sisters. I try to blank it all out. Sylvia, do we have any brothers and sisters? She laughs with her mouth closed and says, Jimmy, sometimes you can be so silly. You know, Sandra and Irene are staying with cousin Cynthia. I already talked to them, and they know I am back home. I mean, in town. I don't think Chester and I will be staying here too long, but because he's getting an overseas assignment soon, and he wants me to go with him. Now that I'm aware my parents are dead and my mother, who has become my sister within the last half hour, is telling me that my oldest sister, I am assuming she is my oldest sister, will be going out of the country soon, I can only ask, where to? My mother, who is now my oldest sister, tells me that she'll be living in Chile with this guy named Chester, who to me looks like a TV repairman. He smokes, he has a beer in his hand, and although he looks much younger than my new sister, his style of being is old. I tell them that I just stopped over to say hello, and that I'll come and visit them later, that I'm running late for something. I think I mentioned altar boy practice, or a music lesson, or confession, or a basketball practice, or baseball practice, but the only sense that I have is confusion and the need to run. I say goodbye to both of them and run. I run for so long that my shoes almost melt off my feet. My sweat dries up. I run so long. I run to the side of the mountain, around the church baseball lot, past the bus stop 1,000 times, because I will not stop running and catch the bus to go to my current house. I still have a natural right to have grandparents and aunts and uncles, I think. I don't want anyone to be anything else to me. I don't want to know about any other family members who suddenly need to be something other than I have known. Do I have girl cousins who want to become boy cousins, or mothers or fathers way before their time? Do I have boy cousins who no longer want to be boys? Can anybody change from being a parent to becoming a sibling? Is it that simple? What about the ones who don't want to change? What if I don't want my mother to be a sister? What if I'm happy with the two sisters that I love? You know, I love my two sisters, and if they were by my side right now, I would not tell them that I would love them. I would just hug both of them, and I would stop running. What if I don't need another sister? I don't need another sister. I have two already. How can I ever remember that I have three? Oh, adoption. Yes, I can say she was adopted. We found her at our door one morning, but that won't work because she's so much older. Why didn't she just become my aunt? That would have been easier. I could make her my auntie easy. I don't live with her anyway, and my father's always gone, and I want to call the FBI and report a missing mother. I want to report a found sister. I want to report the tragedy of losing my parents on the doorstep to the house of my ex-mother. Lots of guys have ex-mother-in-laws. I have an ex-mother. Okay. I'll finish with two more pages. That chapter was ending there, but I added two more pages. So unfortunately, you're going to have to hear them now. These are somewhere else, but they needed to go back at the end of that chapter. So that was a very smooth transition. That's what happens when you get a work in progress. Although it's pretty complete. The next morning, my body feels like I fell off a moving truck. I did that once, and some of the scrapes and bruises lasted for weeks, and I had a concussion. That really made me feel weird. When I hurt the most, I am quiet. I want to scream, but the voice fails. The mind doesn't cooperate. It refuses to make a connection between my heart and that sound of terror. Last night, my mother becomes my sister. Today, I'm counting the number of people who will be affected by this. Everyone who I know. Yet my new sister also begged that I reveal nothing until we have had more time to discuss this new person in my life. Well, the fact to be hidden is that my mother, who as of yesterday has always been my mother, has not disappeared entirely. She just time traveled in the opposite direction of most of us and discarded a few unnecessary years in her life scope. Too bad for me she got rid of the years of my birth. Too bad for me she discarded the years when she fed me from her body. Too bad for my two sisters that they too lost these important years of their lives. I catch the downtown express bus. I find myself walking towards the free bridge into Juarez before I'm able to recapture a glory of the years when my mother was a mother. Yesterday, during the presentation and discovery of my new sister, the speed at which it unglued itself didn't offer much time to accept or deny. I'm laughing at the thin air each time I think about it now. I'm grateful that I wasn't also handed a daughter for my new relations. I liked it the way it was. So what if Mom is always busy working or dating all those fool-eyed servicemen at the officers' club? At least no matter what time of day or what day she decides to come back home, I used to easily say, "Hi, Mom." I forget her name now. Is the new sister the same name as my old mother? How can I find out without having to talk to the new best friend of my ex-mommy? I don't hate him for liking her. I don't hate him for not knowing that his new sweet love is my mother and not of my generation. I don't hate him for anything. I just hated being there, having been there, having to return there. An officer and my mother who became my sister in order for her to stay on assignment with the military man. My heart is so heavy I can't toss it toward the sky. I don't want to chase my dreams. I used to chase my dreams, I would use my heart. There was a hobo under the railroad bridge years ago. He showed me how to do it. Look, mijo, grab your heart, close your eyes first, and face toward the sky. Now with your heart in your hand, toss it toward your dreams. It's that simple. And if you listen to that heart that's looking for your dream, all along the trail, you'll chase it, and that dream will reach you. They work together all the time. Tu corazón y tus sueños, all the time. There is so much that is lost when a mother becomes a sister to a son. Thank you.